Hello, I hope you are well. The new series of Samsung's phone family, the S25 series, has been introduced with three models: S25, S25 Plus, and S25 Ultra. The first phone in this series is the Galaxy S25, with a small display as always, a small 6.2-inch AMOLED 2x screen with LTPO and other things that you have known. It has fewer bezels compared to the previous generation, and instead of 90% of the front panel, 91% of the screen is taken up by panel. The next part is the hardware, which has the biggest change compared to the previous generation, and they put the Galaxy specific Snapdragon 8 Elite inside this phone, whose 2 GHz frequency is higher than the rest of Snapdragon 8 Elite. But don't be fooled by its appearance. With the restriction it placed on the phone's heat, Samsung doesn't let the output of this chipset be too high because it gets very hot and its performance be a bit worse than other flagship phones as usual. Alongside this chip, there is also 12GB of RAM along with UFS 4.0 memory, which has a higher speed compared to the 3.1 in the last generation. The camera is exactly the same as the previous lenses, both on the back and the selfie. The only difference is that this time you can shoot 10-bit video and HDR, which is useful for those who produce content. The battery and everything are the same, but fewer options such as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which are related to the chipset, have also been upgraded. Is it worth buying this phone compared to its competitor and even previous generations of Samsung? In my opinion, it's not worth it at all, because you are paying a lot of money just for a chipset that has limitation. The next phone is the Plus version, which has exactly the same changes as the regular version, except the bezels have been reduced by 0.2% of panel, which is almost nothing. And this phone, at its price of $1,000 has nothing to say about the $800 Chinese flagship phones. Coming to the flagship of Samsung phones, the S25 Ultra. In the design department, due to its large size and sharpness of the previous version, the corners were curved and the weight of the phone was reduced. The Gorilla Glass Armor 2X screen protector and the frame were changed from grade 2 titanium to grade 5 titanium. A new version of anti-reflective screen has been placed on the screen for less reflection. There is no news of a panel with a high flickering rate. It's the same panel as before, but the bezels have been reduced by 4%, which is much more than the previous two models. This time the screen is 6.9 inches. The Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is the best Android chipset on the market with lower consumption. However, Samsung hasn't changed the battery like other phones, so don't expect amazing battery life. The next change is the ultra-wide sensor, which is the only lens that has changed, and instead of a 2-megapixel lens with an aperture of 2.2, it's placed with a 50-megapixel lens with an aperture of 1.9, which I think is much better in macro photos. But the size of the pixel in the photo has decreased, which shows that more megapixel may not be much better in normal photos, especially during the day. These were the physical changes in this phone, and Samsung focus in the last 2 years has been artificial intelligence and peripheral and software capabilities. For example, the photo editor has become faster. The connection between AI and application has increased. For example, you can say, I want to watch football tomorrow, and the phone will automatically write it down in your note and remind you, and a whole bunch of other features. What do you think about the new series?